that we're in this like wild scenario. And yet every single time that I read the Bible, I'm like, oh, this isn't new to God. It just feels real new to us. And he's not shocked and he's not surprised. And that's why we get to lean into his steadfast love and his constant versus what's constantly changing and chaotic in the world. And so this is a place, this is a home through the Founder Collective that we want you all to feel that sense of constance because of who we serve and a God that is steadfast in his love for us and his firm foundation. And that's truly what the Founder Collective is all about for entrepreneurs and those who are still exploring what their purpose is. I don't think it's just a space for people who are founders. They could be people who are founded in him now, and then they evolve into being a founder in their companies or in their churches or in their ministries, or maybe it's just in their home. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about being more than enough and what that means in all these titles and places and spaces and hats that we all wear. And so, Janis, which one do you want to jump into first? More than enough in what role?
You know which one I want to jump into first. More than a mom, because that's like something that's really been something that I've worked on in myself in my own life. I have adult children. I have a 27-year-old, a 23-year-old, and a 19-year-old. When my middle child left for college, it just hit me all of a sudden. I don't have, I mean, they don't need me, or they need me still, but
Sure.
they don't need me as day to day as they did. And so at that point, I was like, well, who am I if I'm not their mom every day, if I'm not driving them back and forth to school, if I'm not, you know, so
Dance mom. Yeah, all the
dance mom,
things you did.
everything. I mean, I have been everything.
Yeah.
So, and it was really a struggle to figure out. I was like, well, who are you? Who are you? And it's been a journey. It's been a probably 3 to 4 year journey. Started with, you know, I went to a Rise Business conference by myself, which was totally outside of my comfort zone. Went out of town, stayed by myself, went to this conference. And it's just kind of grown since then. And he showed me that I have value beyond that. And even though I'm in my 50s and people kind of think you should be winding down, I'm winding up, girl.
Let's
I'm winding up,
go.
girls. I have lots to offer.
Yes,
And
you do.
it's things that I wouldn't have expected. And when I say I wouldn't have expected, people that know me in real life aren't expecting either. And I'll say I'm doing so and so, and they'll go, who are you? So it's just exciting. And so I just want to encourage women out there who just feel bogged down by motherhood, because we've all been in that season when we have younger children where we feel like all we do is either feed them, drive them somewhere, or clean their clothes or their
Yeah.
rooms. We've
Yeah.
all been there. That
Janis,
time will be ending quickly,
yeah.
but don't forget who you are.
Mm.
God gave you dreams. God put dreams inside your heart. And so you are more than a mom.
And talents that are meant to serve the greater, right? Yes, we get this beautiful season of motherhood where we get to steward these babies who are also going to go out and be world changers and leaders and conduits of Christ. And at the same time, we have to remember that we're interacting with people every single day. So even if people do just wear the title, and I say just, right? It's like you are the CEO of your home. You're a homemaker. Like you do so much for these kiddos. You are raising these humans, not to mention you held them in your womb. And whether you held them in your womb or not, no condemnation in that space. It's this knowing that you've been graced this title and this role, and no one else, literally not one other person, even though there's billions of other moms, not one other person gets to raise the child you're raising. And so it's a unique divine call for you to raise that specific child. And each one is totally different. Janice, as you were talking, I actually was like thinking about the antithesis of that, where I just got to go to a jiu-jitsu tournament with my son this past weekend. And my husband is the one who always takes him to this particular sport because I always go to the sport with my daughter. And so I don't interact with any of the parents there. I don't interact with any of the children there. And I've gone maybe once or twice since this new gym that he started with. And he calls people like auntie and uncle. I'm like, whoa, you can't call them auntie and uncle if I've never met them before. So I go into this tournament and everyone is like giving me a hug. They know me because of social media. And they're like, we love you. We're so excited you're here. I learn from you every day. And I'm like, I feel like a fish out of water, not to mention they're all Filipino. So I'm like this white girl. I'm like sitting there. This is so interesting. This is a whole nother immersion. But they were all like, you're Cooper's mom. Right? Are you Cooper's mom? So there was this variable twinge inside of my gut that I was like, man, am I not present enough? Am I not there? So let's go and kind of weave into both of these conversations that I'm more than a CEO. I'm more than an entrepreneur. I'm more than what a lot of people like to call, and I can't stand the term, is a girl boss, right? I am more than that. And I have a great call on my life. And I'm very aware of that in the most humble way. It's friction. It's hard. It's heavy. I cry myself to sleep sometimes, but the joy of the Lord is my strength. And when I think about that associated to the leader that I get to example for my children, the things that I want them to do, Candice and I have talked about that because our girls are like BFFs, and we're creating this nonprofit and for-profit experience as a legacy that they're going to be able to step into at some point. Candice's daughter is like this evangelist. She is bananas. You guys are going to love her. We're going to have to get the girls on here. That would be so fun.
Oh my, they would die. Absolutely.
But think about that, Candice, because I know you have taken your career so seriously, and we are stewarding something beautiful inside of our children for them to see how much I love what I do. They hear me laughing when we're on these podcasts, talking. I'm constantly going on different trips that are incredible. And I don't want them to feel guilty that I'm at work, which is why we call it my creative space. Like, mom's creating today, dad's helping people today. And at the same time, I never want them to feel like this is more important than them.
Yeah, no, I feel that completely. I think that's also a part of why I joined the Fit and Faith and founder team. I definitely lost myself in the career that I was in, and working nonstop. And Charleston, my daughter, there was definitely a time where I was putting in more hours there than I was being a mom at home, because I was just grinding. Because as women, we feel like we have to grind way harder to get to where you want to be in life. And I've always felt that way. I always felt that I had to work harder, work more, be more productive than everyone else. But my 120% is other people's 5%, and it's just like, I feel like I needed to step away and realize that Charleston was seeing me as just someone that works, and I was doing the best I could, but she sees now the happiness that I have, and I want her to grow up not feeling that she has to perform like I've had to perform. I don't want to have to make her think that she has to be on like this, and so she has seen a difference. And although she is sad currently, because where I was is where she goes to school, but that time will come to an end, and we'll have this wrapped up, and she's gonna hopefully, we're building something for the girls to have later. And but I do think on the other side that women definitely are more than their job. You can be a mom and a career person and not have to perform for those corporate bosses or perform for those people who feel like you have to put in more work to get where you need to be.